A lot of outlets trying to figure out what happened with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. How did this movie fail? It should have been huge. It's Disney Lucasfilm. It should have been massive. Should have been such a huge hit, breaking records. But that didn't happen. Well, I mean, this one's easy. It failed because, one, there's not a lot of good faith left with Lucasfilm. Two, this property came out in the 1980s, 70s. It's old. And that's not a bad thing because those older movies are good. My point is that this franchise hasn't had anything going for it in a long time. It's not as culturally relevant as it used to be. And because of that, people just aren't going to see the movie. Crystal Skull was in the early 2000s. That movie wasn't a big hit. Maybe if it had been well received and a giant success, I think you would have maybe seen more of an appetite for this movie. But when you just trot out a movie about an 80-year-old man and make the big relevant thing to see this, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, it's doomed to fail. That's why it failed. There's not a lot to really analyze there, but all of these articles are starting to flood out. We're also now starting to see more excuses that perhaps maybe what could have saved this movie is better diversity. So CBR.com, a website that is failing, by the way, laying off all kinds of people. A lot of people get fired at old CBR.com, probably because of dog shit articles like this. So, yeah, one of the major problems of this movie is that it didn't have major diversity, even though they put two of the stars in the photo itself that are people of color. The new short round character on the left, I don't even remember his name or the other one's name. This movie's so forgettable. I'll just call her the CIA agent because that's what she is. So, apparently, that wasn't enough. Two characters that are pretty much almost in the entire movie. They needed more. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny puts itself as a feminist-leaning film, but it has major issues when it comes to inclusivity of other groups. Showing you that, once again, these people never consider anything in a movie good enough. You need more and more and more. Maybe if Indiana Jones himself had been race changed to a black character, then maybe they would have finally said that this is the most diverse Indiana Jones ever. Just get Harrison Ford out of there. Go get anybody to play him as long as they're a person of color. And boom, Indiana Jones is now the greatest property ever made. But what I found really funny in this article is that apparently Helena Shaw is destroyed in this movie. She's not done respectfully because, well, I mean, their poor attempt to make her morally gray backfired. It makes her an awful person. She's an awful person in this movie. But she should have been, what she should have been is a fine example of morality and goodwill, and that would have made her better. Same with this character. The problem here is that this character is not a good person in the movie. She's a villain. You're not allowed to have villains like this. So naturally, they're mad because she worked with the bad guys. That's right. She should have also been a person of outstanding moral character. Let's just read a little bit of this one. So Helena Shaw, the swashbuckling feminist heroine, because that's something everybody wants to see, right? She is, by the way, she is a feminist in this movie. That's why, that's probably why it failed. Nobody wants to see a swashbuckling feminist. Who wants to see that movie? Nobody. In Dial of Destiny, Helena is depicted as wanting to help Indy heal after Mutt's death. Unfortunately, the goodwill behind Helena's writing is hurt by the fact that she's a white English woman who steals relics to sell them on the black market. Worse yet, Helena is depicted taking joy in the illegal industry. This portrayal is in poor taste given the ongoing real-life campaigns by indigenous nations to have their treasures and relics returned to them across the Americas, Asia, and Africa. With reparations being a big part of the collective conversation, it's weird to think Indiana Jones 5 would celebrate Helena as a thief who only cares to make a profit and has no interest in cultures or people she's stealing from. Why? There's a lot of people out there like that. I mean, if this could have been executed better, that could have maybe been a good kind of dynamic between the two of them, but they never really wanted to go all in on that. Instead, they wanted to have her start off being a giant piece of shit and then turned into a hero by the end of the movie. They should have. It would have been a much better movie if she had just been the villain in it, and maybe he's going to stop her. But, we can't do that. But that's the real problem, because there's real-life stuff going on where people are selling stuff, and these countries want their spoils back. This movie needs to take conscious of that, be more conscious of that, and advocate during it, which nobody wants to see either. Nobody wants to see this version that this dog shit outlet is trying to push as well. I would almost be willing to bet that this article was AI written as well, because there's some pretty bad typos in it that I was fixing as I was reading the article. I think a lot of AI is doing these now, and it makes sense if you think about it. All right, so let's read a little bit more of this piece of shit. The writing of Helena is a stark reminder of how colonialism continues to pervade society today. In this case, is in the form of continued theft of indigenous lands and artifacts by European nations and those of European descent. Had the film induced her grandmother as the new generation adventurer rather than making Helena up, this unfortunate message could have been avoided. It could have also felt more organic to the plot and Indy's past. More specifically, including her grandmother could have done more to wipe away stigmas and stereotypes while showing fans the franchise is willing to make meaningful change. It would have especially been more thoughtful for a minority to help Indy rather than usher in a new era. Okay, so that's how CBR would have improved the movie. Let's fight colonialism. Maybe have. I'm all for recasting Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Let's get somebody else in there and see how that would have helped improve the movie. She's a huge drawback on this movie. I do think if you had actually gotten a beautiful, charismatic woman to play the character, I think that she would have been seen a lot differently by people, and this movie probably would have made a lot more money. But instead, they went with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about all this. I'd like to hear from you. Would maybe if making this movie more woke have helped it at the box office, as CBR.com suggests? Let me know what you think about that. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Check out my Rumble and Locals, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my Locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my Locals.